Hello, my friends. I'm the Wolfman, Dale Wolfley, and I'm coming to you from the second layer of the Wolf's Den, and this is the Mountaineer Ramble. You say, what's the Mountaineer Ramble? Well, it's me giving my own personal thoughts about the Mountaineers game the past weekend. And I'll start out this week with the Baylor Bears. But first, we have to talk about our sponsor, Kegler Sports Bar and Grill, and their daily specials. Just because it's a bye week, don't forget about it, because Monday night is wing night. It's called Beat the Clock, baby. So you have 50-cent wings, 60-cent wings, and 70-cent wings, all the way up to close, just depending upon the time of day or night that you are there. Best wings in town. Today, it is what? 2 for Tuesday tacos. 2 for Tuesday tacos. Yeah. And then Wednesdays, it's all you can eat baby back ribs for $10.90. Man, they're going to lose money on me. I guarantee it. And then Thursdays, it is half price appetizers. And you can stay from 6 to 8 for the Neil Brown radio show, where they are broadcasting an exclusive, and I said exclusive, video feed into Kegler's, who Kegler sponsors the Neil Brown radio show. And we will have an opportunity, or you will have an opportunity, to ask questions of Coach Brown himself, possibly. And of course, Friday, it's happy hour spirits. And then again on Sunday, it's the NFL Day special on wings. So Kegler Sports Bar and Grill, the best sports bar and grill in town in North Central West Virginia, or anywhere for that matter. But this is the Wolfman Ramble, and I want to talk about the Baylor game. And obviously, you know, Coach Brown gave some great points in the press conference this afternoon, as he always does. He's just on top of this team. He knows what's going on with his team. It's absolutely fantastic. And I want to talk about the offense, defense, and special teams of what I've seen. And the word I have, I think most, is as a team unit goes, it's adversity. And I think it's whether it's self-inflicted adversity or adversity that comes from the opposing team or anything in the environment. You know, COVID-19, who'd you lose? You lost James Gemitter, and you weren't expecting that. So there's just adversity that's going on. Last week against Oklahoma State, it was a tough game, and the Mountaineers were just not clicking on all levels for that game against a very good veteran Oklahoma State team. And so they came out on the losing side of it. But here's what I like. Every time the Coach Brown goes to this team and says, and this goes back to last year as well, since he's gotten there, and said, hey, I need you to respond because this is going to be a defining moment. Who are you and where do you want to go? And as far as I'm concerned, that I've seen, they have responded, especially when they finished last year winning the 2 out of the last 3 and were competitive down the whole stretch of the end of the season. And I'm going to say that again, this game, Baylor, Charlie Brewer, the quarterback, is a senior that is third in the list all-time of Baylor in passing. He had over 52 touchdowns passing, 18 rushing. He was a dual-threat quarterback. He was in the Big 12 championship game last year, and he is one great leader for his team. And the Mountaineers found a way to defeat him, not only defeat him, harass him all day. He did not even want to be out there anymore because he was getting beat up. Great game plan by the defense. And when you think about that, and then you have the whole new Coach Aranda, the coach from the national championship, and I'm sure he's a great coach. Saturday just wasn't his day. And the Mountaineers, again, as a youthful team, they had 29 first-time players in that Eastern Kentucky game. 29 new players. Think about that. What a youthful team that there is. And so the progress that I've seen coming through these few weeks has been noticeable. And after Saturday's game, I'm going to say impressive, because what the defense did to the Baylor offense and Charlie Brewer, wow, that is something special. So let's start out with the defense, right? And go about it. And what they gave up 27 rushing yards, 27 against a veteran offensive line, against 2 running backs that Coach Brown himself said that he thought that they would be in the NFL. I believe they averaged, John Lovett averaged 1.6 yards per carry. He's only been starting for 3 years for the Baylor Bears. And Treston Edner, who had 2 kickoff returns for a touchdown the week before against Kansas, and a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown. He broke the record for the Big 12 in scoring 3 different ways. He had a big 1.5 yards per carry. I'd say that is shutting down the Baylor Bears offense. Last week I said against Oklahoma State, who could run and who could stop the run would win the game, and it happened. Oklahoma State rushed for over 200 yards. Well, the Mountaineers outrushed the Baylor Bears by over 100 yards, and that prevailed again, even though it was tight, and at the end, it got to be in overtime. But again, what did I say? Adversity, whether self-inflicted or an opponent or environment. And that's the special thing that I like, because this defense was just going all over the place. Darius Stills, he was co-defensive Big 12 player of the week. Yeah, 2.5 sacks. You know, when you think about Charlie Brewer, one day, God willing, he's going to tell his grandchildren and say, you know, I had a great career at Baylor. Maybe he'll go on to the next level. Maybe he won't. I'm not sure. But whatever it is, he's going to say, there's one family that harassed me. Their names are going to be the Stills brothers. And I think he's going to still feel the soreness all those years ahead of now that he would be there, because I will tell you is that it was fun to watch. And Charlie Brewer really was sacked 6 times. He was hit way more than that, harassed all day in the pocket, really thrown out of his rhythm. And it's not like he didn't have 3 or 4 junior receivers and 1 4-year sophomore receiver that he couldn't throw to. So when you look at the running game and the passing game, they had ample weapons against the Mountaineers. They just didn't play very well. And a lot of that was because the Mountaineers didn't let them play. I will say this, I really enjoyed this defensive game plan that Coach Adai came up with. And of course, obviously, Coach Leslie as well. And the defensive staff. Let's just get real. Everybody's involved in this, and everybody's contributing. But of course, as coordinators, they get the most recognition involved. But I really enjoyed this whole defense. They were flying around. They answered the bell. They were physical. And Coach Brown, in the press conference today, said that this game may have been the most physical game that the team as a whole played. And you know the defense had to be leading the way. And you go back 2 years in a row, they had a defensive stand, goal line stand, led by Darius Stills. And I put that out there this week in social media, and somebody said, well, he scored. Well, it may have looked that way he scored, but they didn't count it, so it was not definitive that he scored. So that, to me, is 2 goal line stands in a row. And Darius, I'll tell you what, I know this young man. I love it, love him. And he is just balling out. And, you know, Dante as well. And the whole defensive line. And then, but you got Tony Fields in there. And then you have Josh Chandler, Semedo. I mean, Josh Chandler, he's been playing, man. It's just that Tony Fields is usually doing 1 more or 2 more tackles than him in a game. And he's the newcomer, right? But Josh, I tell you what, this defensive unit is working in the box. And then you go ahead and look at some of the safeties in the corners, the way they're playing, and they were there and making big plays on defense. And don't forget the sudden change, because the sudden change is so important that when an offense gets that sudden change, they come on the field, sudden change, they have the momentum, right? And what they want to do is they want to come out and they want to strike right away, because they want to catch the defense in a, disappointing low, if you will, because they're all upset that the offense turned the ball over. So get a score on them right away. That's the idea. That's the plan. Didn't happen. The Mountaineer defense shut them down, and I give them full salute and kudos. Excellent, excellent job. And then when you look at the offense, let's flip it over there to the offense, and you say, hey, listen, they didn't score the points at the time. They had 2 turnovers. It's going to happen from game to game. The offensive line with James Committer got moved around. You had a true freshman in Zach Frazier playing at left guard, and a redshirt freshman at left tackle, Brandon Yates. And then again, you had John Hughes at right tackle, and Mike Brown at right guard, and Chase Barrett at center. Now, I'm an offensive lineman, right? But I love the defensive line like I love the offensive line. In fact, when I was the head coach of my junior college, I coached defensive line, and I had the biggest kick out of that as well, because I just love the two of them going against each other and who's going to win that battle. And eventually, the offensive line really wore down the Baylor Bears defense and just gave them fits. And it was really nice to see. Lenny Brown rushed for 93 yards, but he's running like a man. Bad Lenny Brown. People keep saying to me, why are you calling him bad Lenny Brown? Well, because you ever hear the song, Bad Leroy Brown? Baddest man in the whole town? Yeah, I know you know what I'm talking about now. So when you look at that with Letty, and then Alex Stinko, he had the big explosive 25-yard run. He had a bigger run, but of course, it was called back for holding on Zach Frazier, who was actually almost running down there. He was still in the camera frame 20 yards later with Alex Stinko. You know, I'll take that penalty any day of the week if you're giving me that kind of effort from Zach Frazier there. And of course, he didn't play a perfect game. No one did, but I will say this, is that the future looks bright for the Mountaineers. And, you know, that's even without Gamitter. So wait till Gamitter gets back. And now you got Hubbard coming in from the NCAA, getting the waiver to play. So we're adding to that whole offensive line with John Hughes there at the tackle. Then you got Bryson Mays, who's a swing guy. He can play guard, he can play tackle, and he can play center. Because you know he started 7 games at center last season. With that all being said, the offensive line seems like it's coming together better. They were more physical up front. They actually took the game, especially in the overtimes. I thought they were really exceptional and went after the Baylor Bears defense. And you have to think about Terrell Bernard, the will linebacker for the Baylor Bears. Absolutely will be fantastic on Sundays next year. And he had 13 combined tackles. You know, he made an impact, had an interception. My goodness, I mean, he caught the thing on his back. So what a player. Again, more adversity for the Mountaineers. Now, let's get into this with, you know, the turnovers and some plays, the penalties. Again, I think there's the third quarter, we had 3 drives, and on each drive, there was a legal procedure penalty as well. Those are issues that have to be worked out. And you keep saying this is a youthful team. But right now, is after game 3, that youth, you know, on that offensive line and working in cohesion, you know, 5 guys working as one. Okay, that has to start coming out, and they have to be getting better. And I think with this bye week, you're going to see some things going on offense that the Mountaineers really have to work on, and I think they're going to get better. I do believe that they worked hard the last week from Oklahoma State, saw what they did wrong, and I think they corrected some of those as well. The wide receivers, I saw better perimeter blocking off of the wide receivers, and but receivers' issues are, you know, more consistent catching the ball. I think that's a fair statement to say, and I think that they will tell you the same as well. Although some of the catches were nice catches and some really good things happened as well. I think that the tackles and the game plan that the Mountaineers had offensively was good, and so they kept that pressure off. You know, Coach Brown again said that Brandon Yates was the most physical he's ever seen him as, and he was excited for his future. I mean, this youngster is only a redshirt freshman. This is his 3rd game that he's played, and the first one that he started. When we came out, and I saw, you know, Chase Barron was at center, who was playing, you know, guard and tackle the week of, and had to change right to center. That's fantastic by Chase. And again, Mike Brown, I think, is having his best career games. Looks like he's really understanding the game of football because he has such lack of experience in it. And John Hughes, I thought, had a much better game this past Saturday than against Oklahoma State. So that was really nice to see. And if we get into the tight ends with O'Loughlin, he is becoming a real tight end. Now, if you recall, he started out as a wide receiver. He was a skinny kid, right? About 180, 185, I think. Not sure I'm totally correct, but, you know, he's put on the weight, and it's been muscle weight. And we always knew he could catch the ball as a wide receiver, but could he get used to putting his hand in the dirt, is an expression, and come off at a 3-point stance and block? If you look at him coming off the ball on the last play of the game for the scoring touchdown, the walk-off touchdown, you will see him collapsing the left side with Brandon Yates, Zach Frazier, Chase Barrett, and then you had Mike Brown on the other side, right guard, and then you had John Hughes coming off, fire up the ball on the backer as well. The whole offensive line really pushed, the left side especially, but the whole offensive line pushed the Baylor Bears back into the end zone. What does that mean? Well, what was the situation? That was a 3rd and 1, right? 3rd and 1, and it was for a first down, I should say, and then it was 3rd, just 3 yards for a touchdown and victory because it was in double overtime. Well, they got the victory, and I'm going to tell you why. Because who wanted it more? I'll tell you who wanted it more. The Mountaineer offensive line and the tight end wanted it more, and then you had bad Letty Brown going running in. What did he had a shoulder square. You see that? That is shoulder square. His knees were bent, so he had leverage. He had his bad self running full steam up there. Was he going to be denied? Not Saturday, not that day. No, absolutely. I will say this is that it was not happening. Letty Brown was going in. He came out the other side of the pile, standing up. All the Bears pretty much in the end zone. And let's not forget our wide receivers because it was 11 personnel, 1 running back, 1 tight end, that was O'Laughlin, and then you had 3 wide receivers. And they shielded off and did an excellent job of stopping that edge rush, that edge penetration. Remember how much the Bears were doing the edge penetration, especially in the beginning of the game? The receivers did an excellent job of shielding off to allow for Letty to have time and the offensive line to push up the front. So that was an excellent job. And the whole offense, in my opinion, got kudos. And let's go back to the first touchdown that Jared Deggy had at running. I had said in pregame that I would like to see him in that read zone where he's handing the ball off to the running back, whether it be Letty or Alex Infield or whoever it might be, handing it off, or he could pull it because the defensive man, the edge rusher, was coming in and just going right after the running back, not respecting the fact that the quarterback could pull that ball. And recall, they both on the edge came up and the touchdown of Jared Deggy. They both came and they hit the running back. Poor running back. That had to be painful. But Deggy getting it, working on it, and understanding what was going on in the situation, took the ball out and ran in for a touchdown. He could have walked it if he wanted to because there was nobody there. Oklahoma State had just totally collapsed on the whole interior of the offense, and there's nobody out there to defend. I could have probably, maybe, maybe not. But anyways, Deggy being a Division I athlete, he was in for the touchdown. So that was another great point I wanted to focus on because I think there were some things that they worked out the week before. So here's my overall thoughts on the offense. Got to get rid of the penalties. Got to get rid of the total negative plays. Not as much by any means in the Baylor game as there was in Oklahoma State. So are they learning week to week? Well, I just showed you Jared Deggy, he was not pulling the ball when those edge rushers were collapsing on the running backs in the read zone play. But he did, and he scored a touchdown. And the Mountaineers were very, very effective in the red zone. In the red zone, I think it was 100% touchdowns. Now, you can be 100% in the red zone. That could mean that you're scoring a field goal, but it doesn't always mean you're scoring touchdowns. So the real stat is, if you're looking at the red zone stats, how many touchdowns are you scoring in that red zone as opposed to a touchdown or field goals? And of course, you want to score touchdowns, and that usually leads to victory, whereas the field goals, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Well, the offense, I think, is coming around, and they have this bye week to work it. And Coach Brown talked about that he wants to work at some things. And I actually really enjoyed some of the play calling because when you saw that 4th and 1 in the first overtime, wow, right? You go ahead and you go for it. I mean, Coach Brown, he takes a look at all the stats and he figures out what the odds are. And he knew from the stats that teams that kick a field goal in an overtime, when they have the ball first in the overtime and the opponents had the ball last, usually lose. So it's 4th and 1. He said, let's gamble. And then, of course, Jared Day comes out with hey, let's throw it to O'Loughlin, the tight end, because we haven't really done that. And what did they do? Big 6 yards. It wasn't an up the middle play. Now, can you imagine if that play didn't work and the heat that Coach Brown would have taken? Whew. I mean, I'll tell you what, man, the guy's got some guts, huh? He does. So he was 100% on 4th down. He went for it 3 times, and then fortunately they got it. But once again, he's evaluating. He's figuring out what's happening. What are the best odds? And then calling the correct play. So all these things are excellent improvements. And a special team coach talked about it. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I hope that you watch the big hit on the Neil Brown television show that I do the big hit. It's the panhandle cleaning and restoration big hit of the week, right? I'm telling you, I'm not going to tell you who, but it's another Fairmont native. I tell you, Fairmont's kicking can, giving the Mountaineers some players these last few years. And this one, you don't want to miss. It is worthwhile, all you can say. It was on a kickoff return. That's all I'm going to say, because I just have so much fun with it. You know, I think you got to worry about a guy who looks at football and gets the biggest kick out of big hits. Maybe I need to get a life. I don't know. But regardless, I will say this, is that it was great effort by some of the special teams. I know Coach didn't like the way that the Mountaineers punted the ball. I thought the coverage was fair. I will say this. The punt return, I think he went a little bit better. Kickoff coverage, though. Hey, I mean, Tristan Ebner scored 2 touchdowns, kickoff return. He only ran it back twice, and both of them were for touchdowns. So I thought the kickoff team was flying down there and doing some good stuff. So to wrap it all up, adversity. The Mountaineers found a way to win against a polished team, against a Charlie Brewer polished team. I can't say enough about it. That is a defining moment. And Coach Brown knew it and came out and said it in the press conference right after the game, that this is a defining moment. Do you want to respond? Do you want to be a baller or not? Do you want to be a team that is considered to be a power team in the Big 12? Well, now is the time to grow up and learn. I think going back to Oklahoma State, I think that was a bit of a, it's not a wake-up call, but it was a bit of a guidelines for this is how the Big 12 is played. And I think the Mountaineers understood that and took that week and practiced hard, resilient as they are as a young team, and came out and found a way to win when they could have folded the tent and just said, they came back. You know, we had so many opportunities and we blew it. They didn't, man. They didn't. They found a way to win. Now, what does Coach say? They said it's a gritty win. It wasn't ugly. It certainly wasn't a Farrah Fawcett. That's for you older people who get that. But it was gritty. It wasn't ugly. And that's what a team needs, adversity to grow. And I think the Mountaineers got it. So I want to thank Kegler Sports Bar and Grill for this, the WolfMan Ramble. Hope you enjoyed it, man. Let's go, Mountaineers. Boom!